What's going on, everyone? Desktop Gaming here. Welcome back to the channel. Tech's been kind of weird and stagnant this year, waiting on some new stuff to come out at the end of this year. So I figured in the meantime, since we're not building PCs as much right now, let's build a PC case. That's right, in this box, everything we need to build a PC case. If you're worried about that, let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As sits in front of me here, what we got to unbox today is something I've never done before, or not very often, I'd say. This is the In Win Airforce case. This is a completely kind of Lego style assemblable case. The only other cases I've had like this in the past were very small form factor, kind of flat packed SFX cases or ITX cases. This one apparently is completely flat packed inside the box here, and you assemble everything yourself. So we're not building a full system today, we're building a case today. So let's go ahead and dive into unboxing everything and see if we can't figure out how to put this thing together. All right, looks like we're greeted by plenty of cardboard here. We have the manual on top, or it looks like there's also a QR sticker for a user manual there if you don't want to, I guess, have the paper manual read. Kind of going over all the steps to build the outside and the frame. All right, so going inside the case here, let's start pulling out some accessories. Let's see, first thing we have is a set of their Luna AL120 RGB fans here. Like I said, these, yeah, like I said, just 3 RGB fans. Looks like they're just standard 120s. Let's see, 400 800 RPM, 82.96 CFM as far as airflow measurements go. So let's set those to the side, start working our way around. Looks like we get a little zipper bag here of, looks like some screws and hardware, PCIe slot covers, looks like motherboard mounts, some zip ties, your typical screws and everything involved. Once we get into that, we'll see if there's anything different in there. Let's see, making our way on over here. Looks like this is the front I/O. So this is actually a separate portion of the case, looks like, that you install. Looks like it has a USB-C 3.1, I'm assuming Gen 1 there, or Gen 2. You get a USB headphone jack, 2 USB 3s. Let's see, a power indicator light and a hard drive indicator light, as well as the power switch there, all wrapped up in a little case there, and then all the plugs coming off the back of it. So I'm assuming that's going to snap into the front panel of the case. Looks like we have some more accessories here. Looks like these are maybe feet for the case. And we'll get some close-ups here for you guys so you can see what I'm pulling out. We have another single AL120 Luna fan here. So it looks like the case comes with 4 fans. That's nice to be included in the kit there, since it all comes together. There's so many little compartments in here. Like I said, actually, let me come grab you guys real quick and I'll kind of show you how they have this laid out. So here's what we have so far, kind of broken down onto the table here. And then on over here, like you can kind of see where there are multiple separate compartments. Everything's kind of labeled along the top here. So you guys kind of have an idea of how everything's packed in here. So I almost feel like I need to take a picture of this to figure out if I ever need to repack this case for any reason, because I doubt I'll ever be able to get it back in the way that they put it in here. There's so many little compartments. Let's see what's in here. Let's see, looks like this is hard drive sleds, I'm assuming. They look like 3.5-inch hard drive sleds. We can keep those in their box. And just looking over their manual real quick, I love the kind of illustrations they have here of the little confused. Apparently they have a In Win support line you can call. I just thought the little graphic there was pretty interesting, but this kind of goes over more of the manual here, what's included in the screw pack. Let's see, looks like we have hard drive for 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch. And then there's apparently 50 of these screws, 5 of those, some motherboard screws, some motherboard tools, motherboard I/O, power supply screws. And then we start moving into the frame and building the frame of the case. So decent illustrations here, looks like. So we'll see how well it is to, how hard it is to follow these here in a sec. We'll move along, pulling everything out here. Like I said, just haven't seen a full-size ATX case like this flat pack before. We'll have to see if we even have enough room to fit everything on the table here. I'm gonna have to move the box off to fit everything. Let's see, we have labeled A, B, C here so far. now it looks like we're getting into some of the front panels. Let's see, it looks like we have a, this looks to be a air filter. Yeah, or maybe two of them in there. Looks thick enough to be two. Just a, looks like a magnetic air filter there. All right, so it looks like we're starting to get to pieces of the frame now. So we'll start laying those out. Very interesting frame design. I said it is plastic for this part, but it does have all the threaded screw holes that I can see are metal of some sort. I'm not sure if that's brass or what they're using. All right, let's move on to the next compartment here. Start getting everything out. Kind of scoot everything over here. Air filter there. Let's see, looks like this is the back of the case. Now the actual internal frame is metal. Like I said, yeah, it's definitely metal. So it looks like we have standard power supply cut out down here. Looks like we have our GPU IO here, rear fan cut out here, kind of normally where that would be, as well as the motherboard IO here. So that is the back of the case. And it looks like here we have a stack of the sides of the frame. So this is the, I believe they called it the Freedom Black or Patriot Black. What was the thing? What was this called? So no, this is the black variant because they have one that's kind of a little more Gundam looking without using the moniker. It's more of like a red, white, blue, a little yellow on there. Reminds me of a classic Gundam setup, but this one's more of an all black aesthetic. So these pieces of the frame are plastic, looks like. These are more of the outside pieces. I'll start pulling these out. And there are four, so I'm assuming it's the four sides. And then we'll start moving down a little more. I have a stack of cardboard over here. It's an interesting idea, definitely cool for tinkering, I'm sure. This is gonna be definitely fun. Let's see, this looks like the back plate, I'm assuming. Yeah, this is the kind of motherboard and back of the case here. So it looks like we have a motherboard cut out here. I'm assuming it would be kind of arranged this way because here's a motherboard cut out. Looks like spots where you can install, you know, your standoffs and everything, and a few different mounting options. A bunch of pass-throughs here. Looks like there's a little cutout for the EPS. So, yeah, decently sturdy feeling, pretty hefty. I was a little worried about all the plastic there at first, but looks like the majority of the internal components are metal. All right, we'll keep moving on down. Let's see what we have here. I will say everything is packed in very well. I give In Win that. Let's see, it looks like these kind of round everything out. We'll pull it out as one piece of cardboard here. This looks to be the side panels. I'm trying to see. Like I said, anyone told me they were sending me this one over, but I haven't really checked out any reviews or any other, you know, word on this yet. So I'm experiencing this for the first time with you guys on how this is gonna go. Looks like it maybe unfolds here. First step is learning how to get it out of the box. That's the first step to building, is learning how to take it apart. There we are. All right. So it looks like these are the sides of the panel, and that is tempered glass. So we have looks like we have a retention clip system here. There are two. I'm assuming this is the front panel, or maybe both sides have it. We'll have to take it apart and see. But it has two little plastic retention clips with springs here. And this is tempered glass, not acrylic. So, you know, no worry about scuffing and scratching, but we just have to be careful about not breaking them. So if anything, they can stay in their little cardboard house here until we get to them. If we can get it to go back in.
I'm not a smart man.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Just gonna keep them safe for now. And a little cardboard enclosures there. We'll set them over here. Chair, you hold them. There we go. And it looks like we do have another one at the bottom of the case. So this is another panel here. Looks like a similar panel. I'm assuming just the other side. It looks like it is still tempered glass. So tempered glass on both sides of the side panel, looks like. And that is the box fully emptied. So let me do some cleaning up here. We'll get all the parts kind of spread out. I may need to take up both tables here because there is a table off to the side of the camera there that you guys can't see. So we're gonna need some build room. So let me go and get this kind of organized, cleaned up. We'll pull up the manual and start to see if this thing is difficult or not to build. Let's get into it. We've got slightly less mess here. It's still pretty sprawled out. So we got all the parts kind of laid out on their own. I was gonna take all of them out of the packaging, but some are labeled. So I figured it would be easier to keep them in the packaging for now. We'll pull them out as needed. Just gonna grab the little instruction guide there and then we'll start working. Correction, they do have a handy YouTube guide on their In Win page. So that's where that does take you. So the user manual just goes over how to install a system into it. They do have a handy build guide. So I may reference that if we get kind of stuck here. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can just follow the manual here. And if not, like I said, I do have the video back here to show kind of how this guy is supposed to be assembled. So let's go ahead and jump into it here. We'll just try to rely on the print guide here and I'll refer to the video if it gets stuck. So wish me luck. Panels on and okay. Never change in one. Never change. Alright guys, so we got it mostly assembled here. We're gonna go put the hard drive sled in, which is here. Just stack on top of each other. And we got the front panel connectors here to wire up to the little cutout here. But I noticed I did flip one of the things backwards. So basically, it has a little clip system that the hard drive sled will slide into. On the bottom, typically, in this bottom kind of right corner here, because your power supply's got to sit on this corner, so you'd have to go over here. Now there is technically a way to put one up here, but I don't know if that interfered with the motherboard, but since I oriented it towards the power supply side and not the other side, I don't have any way to clip it in. I don't like flipping that right now, so I don't typically use 3.5 inch, 2.5 inch drives anyway in the build that I have planned for this, because we are going to be doing a build in this. So I'm just going to continue on. We'll leave that space blank for now. I may go back and fix it before we do a build in it, but I want to go and get the front panel connector here, or front panel connector panel here installed, and then we can finish up the build. I just wish they would have labeled that a little better on which orientation those should go in. So if we look really closely right there, since this is a plastic chassis, it does have a grounding screw already set up there. So we basically just kind of thread that into the chassis, since the power supply will also be grounded to the chassis technically, and we'll get ground for our front panel connectors. There we are. Now it's looking a little more buttoned up and official. Yeah, I was definitely surprised how rigid this case feels to be made out of, you know, the outside of being made out of plastic with just that metal inner frame. Of course, with the number of screws in this thing, it's pretty sturdy, surprisingly. So definitely don't have a whole lot of wiggle back and forth. That's my table wiggling. But yeah, I mean, it feels very sturdy to pick up and move around. Even grabbing it from the bottom of the chassis where it normally would, it's fine there. Now, of course, it'll add some little extra weight when we actually start doing the build and all. And like I said, and I'll tell you guys my plan for that here in a sec. But overall, I'm impressed. The only thing I'd like to see change overall on this guy, just a few more clearly labeled parts as far as the orientation and direction things are supposed to go. The manual was pretty good, and like I said, I could have reviewed that build video more that they have posted on their YouTube, just for, you know, kind of more reference versus just having the written manual there. But I felt like having them printed on the parts, since they were pretty much this custom, you know, injection molded stuff anyway, would have made it a lot easier to not get parts mixed up or confused, since they are are very similar, but they seem to be, can take different orientations and still go together. And that'll kind of mess you up, like I said, on where I wanted to put this little hard drive cage. In the bottom corner, I'd have to go take it apart, flip that around, and make sure it's installed correctly. So I'll still take blame for that, but I still would like to see that more easily, because unless I'm reading ahead in the manual, I don't know that it's oriented like that for a certain reason. If you guys get what I'm saying here. But yeah, overall, who is this case for? I'd say it's for In Win's engineers. It's a really cool case. I'm always impressed to see what In Win lets their engineers do, just making crazy, wacky, custom cases like this. This is definitely for the tinkerer, So if you know someone that is, into building PCs, that's built a bunch of them, that wants to do something a little different, that doesn't mind a slightly open air chassis like this guy, since it has, cutouts in between the glass here. And of course, you get the front intake and the top exhaust here, but there is a cutout, a seam around the majority of the glass except for the bottom and the very top latch there. So, not the best for reducing dust going into the case, but that's not what this case is for. It's meant to be a fun project and a showpiece. And like I said, that's kind of what In Win, or what it looks like In Win kind of designed this guy to do. Now that we've kind of gone over some pros and cons, I guess I can give my kind of final opinion on after assembling this guy. Now I won't be able to give the full everything until we get a build going in it. I can test some thermals, all that good stuff. But overall, just for the assembly, like I said, other than those few, I wish it had kind of things of, having that plastic kind of more labeled on the inside of what orientation certain things are going to go. Some are a little more obvious, like the retention clips being up top, just looking at the tempered glass panels. But like I said, not having known about this step coming up until we read a little further in the manual before we started assembling everything, I didn't know which way to orient that bottom tray to make sure I could get that in the bottom of the, power supply basement area. Other than that, this case does come in at around $200, $209 or so US dollar. Now, do I think that is worth it to be a kind of amalgamation of glass, plastic, and metal kind of all rolled into one here? And it's a very, large ATX. I believe you can even support up to eATX cases in here. So does that make it worth it? That's where it makes it a little harder. Now, I do love In Win's ingenuity. I've run In Win cases a good bit in the past. We had that In Win 309 here for a while with that kind of electronic front panel, just stuff like that. That's what I like seeing from In Win. They make really cool, unique showpieces. Some that are very functional. That's what In Win is kind of known for. They're good at. They've been in the game for a while doing that. In this price range, there's a lot of competition, so that's what makes it harder. Now, again, for someone that wants to tinker, someone that wants to kind of, get into something like this, that needs a case this size, that likes to tinker around and build things, it's great for someone that wants to do that. But the project only really lasts once until it's completed, right? Overall on that front, kind of once it's done, that's the fun of it. But, if you want to build this case for someone else or have them build it, and it's their first time getting into it, just to see, how they do with it, the actual structure, the build quality, it's an ATX case. I like the IO they include, that part of it's really cool, but it's just hard to recommend wholeheartedly at this price range of $200 when there's so much competition out there now for this price range. The fact that they include 4 fans, 4 RGB fans definitely adds a good bit to it. So you don't need to buy fans when you buy this. So, take into account of, these 4 fans being included and kind of deduct that money off the $200 price tag. And then you can kind of make arguments to see if it would make more sense for you. For me personally, I'm still going to be doing a build in the sky and testing thermals out. It's pretty open air, so I don't see any issues with airflow restrictions being a problem. But like I said, I still want to test that and kind of go from there. And, we have a Z690 build I've planned for this coming up with that 12600K we got in. So I definitely want to kind of put it through its paces and see what we can do. But like I said, overall, impressed. Like I said, I love In Win's ingenuity and engineering. They build some just really off-the-wall cool stuff. And I'll keep supporting them for doing that, just to keep shaking it up and making different things, more than just boxes with holes in them like most other PC manufacturers doing. Yeah, guys, that about wraps it up. I appreciate you guys stopping by and taking a look at this guy today. Like I said, if you want to check out our last build we did in that Dan case from Lee & Lee there, we'll be pulling the CPU out of that one. I'll list that video up here. We'll be pulling the CPU out of that to get it ready for this build. I do have a Z690 Aorus Elite AX here, kind of ready to go for the build in this. So definitely stay tuned and get subscribed if you guys want to see the thermal performance and have any other questions about this case. But I appreciate you guys stopping by today. Take it easy.